It's a little bit as the gift that keeps giving, the roster movement continuing for the New York Red Bulls. And here to break it down, my partner, Steve Jolly. I'm Matt Harmon. We're the crew, of course, for the New York Red Bulls Radio Network. And we're just days away from the start of the 2021 MLS season. And Steve, what was already an extremely busy offseason for New York, several players coming in. We've been doing these little segments, it seems like, for months. We're not quite done with the news of Frankie Amaya, the 20-year-old, coming over in a trade from FC Cincinnati.
And Matt, you almost feel like there's a hidden agenda with the front office staff of Red Bull. They just want us to be on the screen to do these segments as much as possible and for us to spend some quality time preseason way. But hey, we're only days away from the start of the season. Some fans, I know not a packed house, but some fans are going to be in the stands. And man, it's exciting. Exciting to see all these new players. Excited to talk about the player that we're talking about today as well.
That, of course, Frankie Amaya, former #1 choice in the Major League Soccer Super Draft a couple of years ago, has spent 2 seasons with FC Cincinnati. Steve, clearly something wasn't working. He did ask for a trade. Red Bull, the partner that their team, their rival in the Eastern Conference in Cincinnati, comes up with for allocation money. So Amaya joins what will now become all of a sudden a pretty crowded midfield.
A crowded midfield, but I'm gonna go right now and tell you that I was completely wrong about this player. When he was the first pick in 2019 draft out of UCLA, I thought he was a one-directional player and didn't think much of him. But I gotta tell you, the last 2 seasons watching this player play, he's much of a two-way player, and I think this really fits him. Being in that identity of Red Bull and just his tenacity, I'm really, really excited. I think he fits our system exceptionally well. Not afraid to run at players as well, so that's always a good positive. But yeah, whether it's left foot, his right foot, he's comfortable on the ball. You know, he goes after players and the defense, and this is all solids for us.
You know, I think, and I'm going to make the comparison to our Red Bulls Weekly podcast. We had on Andrew Gutman, who also came over from FC Cincinnati last year. And listening to Gutman talk, I'm going to guess we hear the same thing out of Frankie Amaya. It seems like the Red Bull system really fits the way that he plays, much like it does Gutman. Some of the other players, obviously, that the Red Bull organization has brought in, but young, attack-minded, loves to press, loves to show his athleticism. This last one, playing against his team that he'll now come to. And I think because he's obviously seen Red Bull a couple of times in the last couple of years, he's very familiar with the way that they play, except you're looking at it from the other side, how to defend the press, how to deal with the press. Now he's going to be part of it, and he's going to be another piece in the arsenal, the puzzle for Gerhard Struber.
Yeah, and I think that video that we saw against Red Bull was a perfect example of the type of player he could be here. Always putting as much pressure as possible. We've time and time again, whether it's with leadership there at Red Bull, we talk about this identity, this pressure. It's just going to be very exciting over the next couple of weeks as we see these young players implement themselves into the team and ingrain them in the culture, what is Red Bull and what has been successful over the last, close to 7 years now. It's all good, all positives right now. And it's just, if anything, we're now having to step back over the next couple of weeks and say, okay, who's the players that are going to fit in? What's the system going to look like? Because I think we understand it's going to be high pressure.
Remembering that now he's just 20 years old and as he starts his 3rd year in Major League Soccer, clearly players along the way have some bumps in the road. He comes in as the #1 pick, so right off the top, you have high expectations. What would be maybe the expectations for Frankie Amaya to kind of get his career, I won't say back on track, Steve, but what I will say is stabilized a little bit?
Well, he needed to find a new home. I mean, it wasn't, sort of like my situation relative to my move from the LA Galaxy to, at the time, MetroStars, now Red Bull, is that, I felt like comfortable. I was a confident player and everything like that, but I needed a new home, a new kind of environment. And when he looked and requested a trade, he looks around the league in terms of what the needs are for certain teams, and he sees a big market team like New York and his abilities to be able to step in. It's going to take him a couple of weeks to adjust, but in saying that, I mean, as you mentioned, 20 years old. I mean, you've got socks that are older than 20 years old. Sorry, but I had to.
You know what? I think that I do if I went up and checked my drawer. He's going to be now part of the midfield that includes players like Sean Davis, like Drew Yearwood, down through the middle part of the field, Christian Cáceres, guys that have spent some time. Yuba Diarra, a guy that is now here from Red Bull Salzburg. So you have to think for Amaya, which if you've watched him the last couple of years, is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he kind of that box-to-box guy? Is there ever maybe a thing, Steve, that there's too many players for the same spots on the Red Bull roster? but maybe with a new coach in Gerhard Struber, maybe he wants all these pieces to kind of figure out these are going to be my guys moving forward.
With Struber coming in, and only coming in, 6 months ago, he's now trying to look at specific players that might want to specifically fit into his situation and what he sees and the identity that he sees. And here's a player with Amaya that they made a conscious effort to go after because they felt so comfortable that could be a player that could have an extremely bright future with this organization over the next couple of years.
Part of the trade was that Frankie Amaya needed to agree to a new contract. That seems to be all taken care of. So FC Cincinnati getting some allocation money back. Frankie Amaya on his way to New York. We'll see him pretty soon as New York gets set for the start of the 2021 season. Partner, looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. You and I, quick little selfless promo. We'll be on the air at 7 o'clock for the New York Red Bulls Radio Network, our countdown and kickoff pregame show. And then it gets really up and going against Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to spend some quality time with you again, but also excited to kind of get engaged with the fans of Red Bull, and whether it be Twitter, whether it be our radio show. It's going to be an exciting time, and I'm just happy to be back in the stadium.
He is Steve Jolly. I'm Matt Harmon, of course, from the New York Red Bulls Radio Network. Frankie Amaya on his way to be part of the Red Bull organization.